I want to talk about the 4 pillars of a lead generating Instagram. I have each one of them broken down, so we will run through each one of them individually. I want to talk to you guys about what the 4 pillars mean and how they resonate with what's going on in our world today. Pillar number 1, right, is this concept of growth and being able to grow consistently. But what I want to do is I want to flip this conversation of growth around on its head. I think so many people, when it comes to social media, are really, really stuck in this. I have to grow in this massive amount, or the quantity of growth has to be huge in order for me to say that I was successful with my platform. Instead of the question that they should be asking, which is, am I growing in the areas that actually make sense for my business? So depending on where you do business, I certainly think that determines where you should be focused as far as engagement, where you should be focused as far as your analytics and looking at them and understanding exactly where those numbers are coming from or what those numbers represent. And a lot of times when people reach out to me, they don't even know how to grow, right? So they think that they're supposed to be either paying for followers, they think that they're supposed to be just posting and assuming that the followers are just going to flood in. Both of those are definitely not the right decision. Another thing, kind of this mainstream rule that seems to be out there in the marketplace, is if you just go on Instagram, especially when you start your account and you just start following a bunch of people, a bunch of them will just randomly decide to start following you back. And while in theory, that's not a bad strategy, right? Following people who you think might be of interest to you or might be good people to work with you is definitely not a bad thing. But where we run into trouble is when people are just going on a follow spree. So they're going follow, or they, join Instagram for the first time and they just start blowing up as far as who they're following. Then their ratio looks really funky. So what that means, right, is that the number of people who are following them is significantly lower than the number of people they are following. So our ratio gets a little bit messed up. And that's definitely not a good thing. A public perception of that is that you're just doing that follow without actually creating value to generate the right eyeballs. So we're going to talk about growth in kind of more detail, but specifically the first pillar of creating an Instagram that is going to generate you business is steady and consistent and hyper local growth. We did a mini course in April and there were a lot of people who were surprised as to what it takes to actually generate new eyeballs in their area. And there's certainly a method to the madness there. So being able to do that really intentionally is a huge part of this. Have you ever looked at your analytics to see where your followers are even from? Because that is probably the most important question I could ask you as it relates to this. Pillar number 2 is that growth is directly correlated to content. So the content that we are producing is really, really, really important. And I actually just did a podcast episode talking about the fact that we are in an awareness market. So what does that mean? Today in the real estate and mortgage space, there are more people using social media than ever. And there are certainly more people that are using social media that are doing it wrong, in my opinion, than those who are doing it right. You have to ask yourself the question of, how can I create better content? And I think one of the questions you need to be asking yourself, and maybe you need to write this down, is thinking about, I am a real estate agent or I am a loan officer and if you can focus on that question, you will be able to create content that's not just about the fact that you're a loan officer or not just about the fact that you're a real estate agent, because you are more than that. And the reason that this is so important is that content is the bond between you and your people. Content, in my opinion, is the stick factor. How do we become part of the 10% that are using Instagram to gain visibility and not just to sell? Because 90% of people get on Instagram with the intention of selling, or social media with the intention of selling, and the other 10% are the ones who are actually generating business on Instagram. So why are 90% of people who are using Instagram just white noise, and why are only 10% of the people who are using it actually doing it and generating business? And the one big thing that became the common theme is that people who get into the 10% are people who are creating their I'm a real estate agent. And now once we grow and we're creating content, the growth will only continue to happen if the content is worthy of people sticking around. Then the third piece to that, or the third pillar of our graph, is engagement, right? So if we're creating great content, then the followers that we're growing are going to continue to happen because they're going to enjoy the content that we're producing. And then if they enjoy the content that we're producing, then the third pillar to this lead generating Instagram conversation is going to happen, which is engagement. So you are going to get engagement from individuals, as well as, in theory, you should be giving them engagement. The fourth pillar is monetization. So We have the growth aspect, we have the content aspect, we have engagement. Now our goal is to be able to monetize our platforms so that all of the effort that we're putting into building a lead generating Instagram is actually going to then turn into dollars and cents for us. Monetization is not just tangible, right? Meaning they are not just going to be people that reach out to you saying, hey, I'm ready to buy or sell a house, or hey, I'm ready to get a loan. That is awesome and that will happen. And there's so many examples of that has happened for our clients just in the last couple of days. I just got a DM yesterday actually from one of our clients. And then I got a separate one on Monday and another one on Friday. So it seems like it's been happening extra lately, which is wonderful because a lot of people are buying into this concept of really understanding how to do this at a very high level. But monetization happens in multiple ways. So one is going to be tangible. That's going to be somebody that directly reaches out and says, hey, Susan, I want to buy a house. The second way is going to be subliminal, which is an opportunity, right? And in my opinion, I know I've talked about this before, but in my opinion, opportunity is honestly a bigger form of ROI than the tangible. Now, tangible is what's going to put money in your bank account today, but the subliminal side of things is going to create staying power, right? So let's get back into this idea of how do we get to the 10% and then stay in the 10%. 90% of people are using Instagram with the intention of selling. Only 10% of people who are using Instagram with the intention of adding value and creating a personal brand that will allow for them to create longevity in their careers. And I got a DM from somebody a couple days ago, which actually kind of rubs me the wrong way, to be totally honest with you guys, because she said, my business is 100% by referral. I don't need to worry about like what my Instagram content looks like. I don't really need to worry about like the aesthetic or building like an actual brand kit or any of that. Because for me right now, my focus is striking while the iron's hot, I think was her exact phrase during the summer months, so that if I do have a slow December, it won't affect my business. But getting into the 10% of creating a brand that will create staying power is your goal. That should be every single one of your guys' goals. Because if you have a personal brand, if you develop a personal brand behind who are you as a real estate agent, who are you as a loan officer, so that and factor that we talked about in the very beginning of this conversation. Now, in particular for this individual who made the comment that she did, my problem with that is instead of focusing on what's going to create staying power for her so that she has that differentiator or she has that stick factor, so that even in December, she can be generating business that comes to her while other individuals are slow. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had conversations with people who have said, December is a slow month, it's Christmas time, it's this or that. But I gotta tell you, our clients, people that are Instagram Power Method students and people that we work with in December, they are ramping everything up so that they don't get to that place where they're not busy. And how have they done that, or what are they doing in order to do that? They are creating this stick factor through that personal brand side of what they're doing, so that in December, when business might be slow for other people, they are not slow because they're having more and more conversations because of the value of that personal brand. This is so important, in my opinion, to understand that being slow is a choice in a lot of cases, and choosing to double down and build your brand while things might be slower is going to help you not ever get to a point where you are slow in the future. What are you doing to grow your following on Instagram every single day? That has got to be a question that you guys ask yourself. Just posting content, right? So just saying, I checked the box of posting a piece of content today, that is not going to help you grow. Engagement is prospecting. So if you are not going out and doing 45 comments and 20 story replies, you need to. You absolutely need to. Would you skip out on making your phone calls? Would you skip out on sending your emails to your people who you needed to follow up with? I'm assuming most of you guys have a time block period of your day where that's your prospecting time. You do your cold calls, or you follow up on your internet leads, or you follow up on your emails to stay in relation with those people who are in your pipeline. Engagement, doing 45 comments and 20 story replies, that is the exact same thing. That is prospect. So that cannot be skipped. And that's something that all of you guys need to take to heart and understand that it's not a option, or it shouldn't be an option. It should be a non-negotiable. It should be a time block to put it in your calendar. I don't care if it's Google Calendar, Gmail account, whatever you guys use. Maybe it's an alert that goes up saying stop and hey, do your comments and story replies. And then the key there is that when you are going and doing them, you're taking the time to do them in the right place. If you guys haven't listened to my podcast episode with Phil Dodds, this is exactly what we talked about, is this DM conversation. Go listen to that episode. We talk about it for 45 minutes, but you have to focus on creating DM relationships with individuals based off genuine conversation about whatever it is, whether it's a pastrami sandwich, their dog, etc. And then you have to turn that conversation into business. And there's a way to do that that doesn't come across salesy. And there's also a time to do that that makes the most sense, right? Not just reaching out and immediately going for the ask or immediately going for the sell without having any relationship with them. Inside the Instagram Power Method course, we have a module called the DM Messenger Machine, DM Like a Boss. And it teaches you guys how to have those conversations with confidence, how to turn a conversation from it being about cookies or a dog or whatever into business. And it's really not as hard as you guys think. But the idea here is we have to have conversations with individuals in our DMs that are genuine. Are you creating the virtual relationship? Are you building the virtual handshake with the person before you then ask for that? The moral of the story, guys, to wrap this up, is that if you take any of these pillars off the table, there's a broken link in your chain, right? The idea here is that all 4 of these pillars that we've talked about, growth, content, engagement, and monetization, all 4 of those are the framework of building a house that can't fall. So if we create sustainability in our platform, we have a killer framework, we will always be generating business off our platform versus the up, down based off what's going on in the world or the marketplace around us. You might be facing trouble with building out this framework in order to get to a place in your business so that Instagram can actually be profitable for you and can actually be something that can help replace your grassroots side of things. If any of you guys need accountability, if any of you guys are struggling with this, we want you to have the same ability as all of the other clients and customers that we have that are doing this at a really high level. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is go ahead and comment grow my Instagram, and one of my team members and I, we will be reaching out to you, and we will be setting up a time to chat with you to see if the Instagram Power Method is a good fit for you and see if there's ways that we can help. So if you already own the Instagram Power Method course and maybe it's coaching that you need, let's have that conversation. But truly, guys, my vision is to create an army of realtors and loan officers all across the country who are truly ditching traditional and grassroots marketing and leveling up their content. Creating relationships at scale through Instagram is so possible, and my job every single day is to create massive impact for all of your guys' business at scale.